Hey business owners, Marvel and Brown here, and today we're going to talk about branding boards. So branding boards or brand boards are a great way for you to bring everything together that you will need when you're creating content across various platforms. You want to be consistent. You want to have a consistent look and feel. And so when you're setting up your brand, you want to think about your colors, your fonts, and you want to also think about the overall message that you're trying to send to your ideal customers or people who are going to be potential customers. So depending on what you make or what you do or how you help your ideal customers, you want to put a little bit of thought into how you set up your branding. So this is the thing. When you're on, say for instance, your website, or if you're in any marketplaces online, maybe you're on social media, maybe you're participating in forums or groups on various platforms, and you're interacting with people, even if you're interacting with people, face to face, one on one, you want to have a consistent brand. You want your ideal customers to recognize your company no matter where they are online. And even if you're out doing, say for instance, you're a creator or a maker or someone who attends vendor shows or craft fairs or things like that, you want to make sure that you have a consistent look when you're attending these in-person events as well. So you want to have marketing materials, you want to have your tent or your elements that you're setting up at these events. You want them to all have consistent colors, logos, taglines, fonts. All of that stuff needs to be pretty consistent. So your brand board can really help you in that area, because this is going to be kind of like your central hub where you're going to bring together all those elements, and you're going to kind of see how they look together. So this is going to be your place to kind of, when you're setting up your brand, before you start creating a lot of content, you want to set up your brand board and think about the colors, the style, the messaging. All of that goes into your brand. So in this case, we have a brand board that has an image, and maybe this company deals with either crochet or knit, or the sweaters, or there's something about this company that they deal with knitted materials, knitted or crocheted, or maybe both, and they use various textiles like yarn or fabric, or there's a lot you can infer about this company based on the image that they decided to use. Now, the thing that they don't have here is their tagline. So what I would recommend is, coming up with a tagline that tells people what you do. It can be just a very few words that tells people what you do. And when you think about your brand, you also want to think about your story, your messaging. What do you want to convey to your ideal customers? What are you going to say to them, to people who might want to work with you, who would be a perfect fit for what it is that you do? What would you want to say to those folks that would help your company connect with them, right? And so your tagline can really do wonders when it comes to helping people understand whether you're a good fit for them or not. So based on your niche, based on what you do, you want to come up with some kind of a tagline. Whether if you're like a company that deals with sweaters and you're selling sweaters, or you're making sweaters, then you want to come up with something. It doesn't have to be like really catchy or anything, but you do want to think about things like keywords. You want to think about what your ideal customers might be looking for. So when they're doing a Google search and they're looking for sweaters, or they're looking for whatever it is that you're making, you want to also have taglines that will help to make that connection between what your ideal customers are looking for and what you provide. So the name of this company is, I'm assuming this is in Good, Goud, something like that. So this company name is not really that descriptive either. Now, this may be a play on words, or some combination of words maybe that the owner thought would be a good, a good company name. But you also want to think, when you're thinking about your company name, you also want to think, what's going to be easy for my ideal customers to find me. What's going to be descriptive? What's going to tell my story? And when you think about putting these together, think about your story. So you can think about your backstory, how you got to this point. That is also a good way to connect with people. People love to hear a good story about, where this company came from, like how you came up with the idea to start the company. Maybe there was some event in your life that made you, decide to start a company. Maybe the company ties in with hobbies or, skills or things that you've done in the past. And it, maybe ties into some of those things. So your imagery really does need to tie into something that connects people to your business. And then your fonts. So let's say that you have a high-end store that kind of caters to women who, have a lot of disposable income. So you want to create something that, number one, is easy to read, something that looks a little bit glamorous. And in my opinion, this Quincy font is a really good font because it's easy to read, it's bold, and it also has a little flair to it. Now, Garrett is also a nice font, but it's kind of more on the plain side. It's not really anything spectacular. And depending on what you're using these fonts for example, it looks like this might be the font that they use maybe for headlines. And you can see that right here. And then maybe even for their subheading. And then maybe they use Garrett for the wording. And the thing that you want to think about with a font is you want that font to display your personality, but you also want it to be something that is easy to read. And think about people, depending on the age group of people that you want to work with. Maybe you want to work with people who are in their 40s or their 50s. Maybe you have a wide range of age groups. But if you are including people who are in the 40, 50, 60-year-old age group, you have to consider that at the point of about 40 years old, your eyes do change. And a lot of people are, going into like bifocals and things like that when they get into that middle age and senior category. So you want to have a font that is very easy to read. You also want to think about the colors. So what colors are going to stand out to your audience? If you are dealing with an audience of women, then you definitely want to think about, softer, more subtle colors. If you are working with men, then you might want to think of, depending on your niche rather, and who you're working with, you might want to think about colors that are a little bold and maybe even more rugged or more rustic. Okay, and then so when you're selecting your colors, these are some of the colors that they have come up with on this brand board. The thing that I want to draw your attention to is the color palette and these numbers that are here below each color. So when you think about colors, your color palette can really, make or break your brand. So if you have, let's say for instance, you are dealing with people who, will go back to the example of maybe women who are looking for, maybe modest clothing. For example, there may be a difference between the kind of clothing that an older more refined woman might look for versus a young teenager. You know, when you're young and you're a teenager, you kind of dress a certain way. You might even be more daring. You might show a little more skin. You might look at bolder colors and really just be willing to step out there with all kinds of, you know, things that are maybe a little unconventional. As you get older, you might want to tone it down a little bit. Some older women love they have a you know, a flair for some of the things that aren't conventional as well. But there are also a lot of times as we get older, we kind of, our style might stay basically the same, but we're not going to be, you know, maybe out there showing as much skin, or, you know, it just really depends. So think about your audience, do a little testing, see what works, you know, well with your particular audience, and then let your coloring, you know, the colors that you choose reflect that. So this can also be kind of a work in progress, because when you're first starting your online business, you may not know a lot about potential customers, or you may think you know a lot about your potential customers. And then as you go in and you start doing more with and working with more people, you may find that your assumptions need to be kind of tweaked or modified, right? And so when you are coming up with your colors, these numbers at the bottom of each color are called hex codes. And I've actually done a video on hex codes and how they work. So I will put that video, I'll link that video to this in some way. I'll probably put a link to it below this video on YouTube, or make it one of the videos that pops up at the end or something like that. If you're looking at this on my blog, I will probably find a way to link that video as well, so that you can get the full tutorial on hex codes and how they work. But just know that on this brand board, we have put together the hex codes for each of these colors. And what these hex codes will do is, when you are on various platforms, you'll be able to put in these hex codes, and you want to include the pound sign and then any combination of letters and numbers. These combinations will give you these exact colors. So when you put in, if a site or a printer or a company that you might be dealing with to either print out or display your colors, all you have to do is give them these hex codes, and they're going to be able to match your colors exactly. So for this particular color, you would put in pound sign A96E73, and the case doesn't really matter. So if you use a lowercase a, for example, or a lowercase e, it's not going to matter. It's still going to give you the same color. But you want to make sure that you just put in the same numbers and letter combination, and that will give you each one of these colors. So that's what hex codes will do for your brand board and for your brand. And that way you're not trying to figure out, you know, you're not going out and trying to figure out and match this color when you are creating content. And that's the goal. This brand board is really designed to set the tone and to show how your elements are going to work together to display your company. Now, here are some of the brand assets. Now, these are brand assets, and that just means these are images that help to tell your story. So let's say that this company is a fashion company, and maybe they have sweaters. They, you know, sell sweaters or knitted pieces or crocheted pieces, but they use various textiles to create fashion pieces that they sell to the public, or maybe they sell to other businesses. Whatever the details are, you know, you want to make sure that you capture the essence of your business using these various images. So The thing that you want to do with this is you want to make this your own. So this brand board is going to be your go-to when you are putting together your content. And what ends up happening, now I have my brand board here, and I have used this thing, you know, over and over and over. It was kind of like part of my, you know, my Bible when I started my business. I used this. I kind of printed it out. I also had it in electronic format, and I used it to, you know, to make sure that everything was consistent. So when you go to my site, you're going to see these colors. When you see my social media posts, you're going to see these colors. You're going to see my rounded logo. And on some platforms, I do use my square logo just because on some platforms, square looks better than circular. And then I also have things under the brand Remotely Made. But what I did was I used the same font in the Remotely Made logo and kind of made it similar to my Making It Remotely logo. So what you'll find is on various platforms, depending on the platform and what your goals are, you are gonna have different types of content that you're gonna be putting together. And so, for example, on Etsy, I use the Remotely Made logo. Now, I'm not really on Etsy the way that I used to be, so, you know, I don't really use this as much anymore, but it's still there. If I decide that I want to go back to Etsy, I can definitely do that, and I can just kind of pick up where I left off. But the thing that you want to do with your business is you just want to be consistent across any platform that you might be on, so that when your ideal customers are scrolling through their feed, you know, and think about it, most of us, we get on social media, we scroll through our feed, and if certain things don't pop out to us or grab our attention, then they just kind of get overlooked because there is so much content out on the internet and in forums and in different places that we might be, that it's really hard to, you know, stand out. And so the way that you're going to stand out, once you make a connection with your ideal customers, you're going to use your brand colors, your logo, and everything, all the different elements that we're talking about here. You're going to use those to make that connection so that you are readily, you're identifiable. You are jumping off the page when your ideal customers see your content. So I'm going to make this, I will make this document editable so that you can come back and you can make a copy of this and use it as you see fit. Or if you would like to create your own brand board, all you have to do is go and log into Canva, hit the design tab, and all you need to do is type in brand board template. And as you can see, there are a lot of different styles here. So you don't have to, you know, you don't have to recreate the wheel. You can choose one of these styles, and maybe there's a color palette that even stands out to you. But there are tons of templates out here that you can use, and just create a brand board, something that is unique to your business that helps you to be consistent when you are posting. And that's the main thing that you want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and I will sign off. And if you have any questions about brand boards, feel free to reach out. And again, I will put the link to this particular example in the notes, in the description of this video. When you see it on YouTube, you'll be able to just click right in and come to this particular item. And then I will also put a link to this brand board in on a blog post so that you can actually see the advantages of putting together one of these for your business. So thank you for watching today. I appreciate your time, and I will see you soon. And thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Have a great day and make it productive.